If she never texts or calls you first, do these 6 things and watch her chase you. Psychology tricks. Love is not about chasing someone who pulls away, but about standing still long enough to see who chooses to walk toward you. Have you ever noticed how she always answers your messages, yet never seems to send one first? She doesn't vanish, but she doesn't step closer either. You're left in that gray zone, connected, but never fully chosen. For many men, that situation feels like emotional limbo. It's confusing, it's draining, and over time, it can quietly eat away at your confidence. You start wondering what you're doing wrong or what more you should be doing to finally tip things in your favor. But here's the reality most men overlook. When a woman never initiates contact, it's rarely an accident. It reflects a dynamic, not just about her interest, but about the position you've accepted in the interaction. And if nothing changes, you stay stuck doing the pursuing while she stays comfortably distant. That's why today matters. I'm going to walk you through 6 powerful shifts to make when she never reaches out first. These aren't games. They're mindset changes that help you stop overinvesting, recognize what's really happening, and reclaim your sense of self-respect and direction. Before we get into them, take a moment and look inward. How often have you ignored what you wanted just to keep things going? How many times have you told yourself it's fine, when deep down you knew the effort wasn't equal? Carrying the connection alone might feel safer than facing the truth, but it also keeps you stuck. This is the point where things change. Not by trying harder, not by sending one more message, but by deciding that your time, energy, and presence have value and should be met with the same level of intention. If you're ready to stop settling for half effort and start showing up differently in your relationships, stay with me. What comes next isn't about chasing, it's about shifting the dynamic entirely. Let's begin with the first thing you need to do to break this pattern for good. Number 1. Stop rewarding her silence. Number 1 is simple and sharp. Stop rewarding her silence. Because when a woman never reaches out first, most men fall into the same quiet trap. They rush to fill the gap. They send the good morning, the check-in, the long message, hoping that if they give more, try harder, stay steady, she will finally meet them halfway. But that is not how hearts work. That is not how female psychology works. And that is not how to fall in love in a healthy, grounded way. Because the more you cover her silence with your effort, the more you teach her a dangerous lesson that she does not have to move, that she does not have to invest, that she does not have to initiate, while still enjoying your presence, your warmth, your attention. And picture this clearly. A man wakes up, phone in hand. No message from her, not even a simple good morning. His chest tightens. His mind spins. So he types first. She replies later, short, flat, predictable. And the next day he does it again, and the day after that, until a routine is born where she gives almost nothing yet receives the comfort of knowing he will show up like clockwork. And here is the hard truth. When you always take the first step, she never has to take one at all. And every time you answer silence with more effort, you make your attention less rare, less meaningful, less valuable. Because people, by nature, do not cherish what costs them nothing. That is not cruelty. That is psychology tricks at work in everyday life, the kind you should understand, not to manipulate, but to protect your worth. Because when something is always available, it stops feeling special. And when something asks for nothing, it earns nothing in return. So the shift you must make is not louder, not faster, not more emotional. It is quieter, steadier, restrained. Don't text just because the silence makes you uneasy. Don't call just because you fear the connection might fade. Don't check in to calm your own nerves. Be still. Be grounded. Let the silence exist. Let the space breathe. Let her feel the absence of what she has grown used to receiving without lifting a finger. And no, that is not punishment. That is self-respect. That is you protecting your energy, your time, your presence. Because your attention is a currency. And when you spend it freely on someone who has not invested anything back, you drain its value. You tell the world and her that it costs nothing to have access to you. And that is a story you must stop telling. Because silence only has power when you keep trying to erase it. But when you stop covering it with texts and calls, it becomes noticeable. It becomes a mirror. It shows whether she cares enough to step forward or whether she was always comfortable letting you carry the weight alone. And this is where most men miss the lesson. They think silence means failure. But often silence is the test. It reveals the truth without saying a word. So don't rush to fix what might be exposing the real dynamic. Be patient. Be observant. Let her show you who she is when you are no longer doing all the work. Because if she values you, she will feel the gap. She will wonder. She will reach out, not out of fear, but out of genuine interest. And if she does not, then you have not lost anything. You have learned something. And that knowledge is priceless, especially for men who want to understand female psychology and how to fall in love without losing themselves in the process. Because real connection is built on mutual movement, not one-sided chasing, not silent comfort on her side and restless effort on yours. So you must change the pattern, not with drama, not with speeches, but with calm consistency. You step back. You stop initiating every thread. You give her the chance to step in. And here is the deeper layer. When you always lead, you remove her opportunity to feel curiosity, to feel a little uncertainty, to feel the natural pull that comes when something is not guaranteed. And that pull, when healthy, is what draws people closer. That is one of those psychology tricks people talk about. But in truth, it is just human nature responding to value. And value is created by boundaries, by standards, by knowing when to pause instead of push. So be clear. Be composed. You must remember that your presence should be a gift, not a habit she barely notices. And when you stop rewarding silence, you send a quiet message. That connection requires effort from both sides. That is how to fall in love with balance. That is how female psychology meets masculine stability, not in chasing, but in choosing. And yes, it may feel uncomfortable at first because you're used to filling the space. You are used to being the engine. But growth often feels like stillness before it feels like strength. So don't panic when you don't hear back. Don't assume the worst. Just hold your ground. Live your life. Stay engaged with your purpose. Because a man with a full life does not cling to a quiet phone. He lets it ring when it rings. And that calm confidence changes everything. It makes your attention feel earned. It makes your words carry weight. It makes your presence something she can miss. And missing is the doorway to appreciation. So here is the truth you must carry with you. Silence only makes noise when you stop covering it with your effort. And in that noise, you will hear exactly what you need to know, whether she is willing to meet you, or whether it is time for you to move forward with dignity, armed with understanding, with psychology tricks used wisely, with respect for female psychology, and with a clear path on how to fall in love without giving away your value. Because you are not here to be a daily notification. You are here to be a man whose presence matters. So be that man, starting now. Number 2, match her energy. Most men don't lose a woman because they are too kind or too genuine. That is not the problem. They lose her because the balance quietly slips away, because they keep giving long after she has stopped meeting them halfway, and they don't even notice when the scale tips. Attraction needs reciprocity. Connection needs rhythm. That is the rule. When one person is sprinting while the other is barely walking, the distance doesn't stay hidden. It shows. It can be felt. And if you want to become a high-value man, you must respect that balance more than your own urge to chase. Picture this. A man sends 4 texts throughout the day, little check-ins, small updates, a joke he hopes will land. He is trying to stay present. Hours pass. She might respond once, maybe twice if he's lucky. Short replies. No questions back. No spark. No effort. Yet instead of seeing what is right in front of him, he tells himself a comforting story. I just need to be consistent. I need to show more interest. I need to prove I'm different. So he doubles down. Be honest. Don't do that. That is how good intentions turn into quiet frustration. He believes effort will inspire effort. That if he pours in enough, she will finally pour back. But what she feels is not inspiration. It is pressure. It is a one-sided pursuit. It is energy that doesn't invite a woman closer. It makes her lean away, not because she is unkind, not because she is confused, but because attraction grows in space, not in squeeze. You must understand this if you want to attract women who choose you freely, not out of habit. Overcompensation doesn't come from confidence. It comes from fear. Fear of losing her. Fear of being forgotten. Fear that if he pauses, she will disappear. And that fear seeps into every message, every reply, every fast response. It changes the tone. It changes the posture. It turns warmth into need. Don't let that happen. Be steady. Be grounded. Be the man who knows his value without having to announce it. That is masculine energy at its best. Quiet, certain, unforced. Women are intuitive. They sense when a man is moving from calm confidence and when he is moving from anxious hope. And nothing cools attraction faster than a man trying to earn what should grow naturally. Don't audition for a role she hasn't offered. Don't negotiate for attention. Be present, yes, but also be whole on your own. That is how a high-value man carries himself. Not with noise, with presence. Think of connection like a dance, not a performance. A dance. It is not about one person taking all the steps. It is about movement meeting movement, flow meeting flow. If one partner carries all the rhythm, all the timing, all the effort, it stops being a dance. It becomes someone trying to drag another person across the floor. And nobody enjoys that for long. Remember that image. Hold it in your mind, because that is what happens when you give more than you receive. It stops being connection and becomes emotional labor. So here is the shift you must make. Simple, powerful. Mirror her investment, not her words, her actions. If she texts with intention, respond with the same warmth. If she calls and plans, meet her there. Show up, be engaged. That is strength. But if she goes quiet, you don't rush in to rescue the moment. You don't break the silence just to soothe your own nerves. You don't chase her shadow. You don't try to revive something she is not feeding. Don't do it. Be still. Let the space speak. Matching her energy is not about being cold. It is not about games. That is not the point. It is about standing tall in your own dignity and allowing her to reveal her true interest without you carrying the entire weight. You must let her show you who she is when you are not doing all the work for her. That is clarity. And clarity is power. When a woman feels that balanced push and pull, something changes. If she is genuinely interested, she leans in. She starts matching you back. She reaches out. She invests. Not because you chased harder, but because the space invited her to step forward. And if she is not interested, her lack of effort becomes unmistakable. No more guessing. No more late night wondering. Just truth. And that truth, even when it stings a little, is a gift, not a loss. Don't fear that clarity. Be grateful for it. It saves your time. It protects your heart. It keeps you moving towards someone who can actually meet you. That is how you attract women who respect you, not just enjoy the attention you give. That is how you build a connection where both people walk, not one running while the other watches. Be this man. The man who responds, not chases. The man who offers warmth, not pressure. The man who enjoys connection but does not cling to it. That is masculine energy in motion. Calm, centered, alive. And yes, it takes discipline. It takes patience. It takes the courage to pause when every impulse tells you to push. But you must do it if you want something real. Don't confuse distance with dignity. Distance is running away. Dignity is standing your ground. Matching energy isn't pulling back in anger. It is holding steady in respect. Respect for her choices. Respect for yourself. That is what makes a high-value man different. He doesn't beg for rhythm. He waits to see if the music is shared. So remember this. If she steps forward, you step forward. If she slows down, you slow down. If she invests, you invest. If she goes quiet, you don't panic. You don't perform. You don't plead. Be calm. Be full in your own life. Be the man who knows that real connection cannot be dragged across the floor. It must dance. And when you live this way, something powerful happens. You stop chasing what isn't choosing you. You start attracting what aligns with you. That is how you attract women who see you, not just the effort you bring. That is how masculine energy becomes magnetic. And that is how you build relationships where balance is not a hope, but the foundation. Matching energy isn't distance. That is dignity. Number 3, reclaim your emotional control. Reclaim your emotional control because in a world buzzing with screens and instant messages, nothing tests a man more than that quiet moment after you hit send and stare at your phone like your whole day depends on a tiny gray bubble. And here is the instruction you need to hear. Your piece is not for sale. Not to a notification. Not to a delay. Not to anyone. Because the second your mood rises when she replies fast and sinks when she takes her time, you have handed over the steering wheel of your life. And that is the trap, the modern trap, where a grown man with responsibilities, dreams, and a future lets a glowing screen decide how he feels about himself. And as Marcus Aurelius said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. So realize it now, because her reply is information, not validation. It tells you about her level of interest, not your worth. And when you burn that truth into your mind, you step back into command. You stop acting like every pause is a verdict on your value, and you start acting like a man who knows who he is. A man guided by Old Stoic wisdom that teaches calm in chaos and clarity in noise. And yes, women sense the shift. They always do. They feel the tightness in rushed messages. They hear the hope hiding behind words. And when they sense that your emotional world revolves around their approval, attraction fades. Not from cruelty, but because dependence never looks like confidence. So the order is simple. Take your emotions back. Take your focus back. Take your life back. Because you were not built to sit at a desk pretending to work while refreshing your phone every 2 minutes. You were built to build, to move, to create, to train your body, sharpen your skills, deepen your friendships, and pursue goals that make you proud when you look in the mirror at night. And as Epictetus said, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Meaning stop chasing every signal and start chasing your standards. Because discipline is louder than desperation. And when you redirect your attention to what you can control, your work, your health, your purpose, your growth, something powerful happens. You stand taller. You breathe slower. Your mind clears, and you carry yourself with the quiet certainty of a man who does not beg the world for permission to feel good. And that is the essence of an iron mind, forged by practice, not talk, shaped by choosing action over obsession again and again, in the gym, at work, in silence, until your default state is calm strength, not restless waiting. And here is the modern truth. Notifications are designed to hook you, to keep you checking, to keep you reacting, but you are not a puppet. You are a man, and your job is to use the tools of modern life without letting them use you. So put the phone down. Set times to check it. Fill the space with progress, because progress is the antidote to anxiety. And as Seneca warned, we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. So stop suffering over stories you invent in your head about what a delay might mean. Because silence is just silence until you give it a story. And you do not need stories that steal your power. You need habits that build it. Habits rooted in Old Stoic wisdom. Habits that remind you that calm is a choice and self-command is a skill. And when you live this way, you experience what I call a Stoicism win. Not in theory, but in daily life. Where you choose response over reaction, direction over distraction, purpose over panic. And make no mistake, this is not about pretending you do not care. It is about caring without losing yourself, about interest without attachment, about respect for her and respect for you at the same time. Because your emotions deserve to be in your hands, not dangling from someone else's timing. And when you hold them steady, you become the man who moves through life grounded, focused, and unshaken. The man who does not chase because he is too busy building. And that energy is felt. It is noticed. It draws people in without a word, because certainty is magnetic. So repeat this to yourself. Her reply is information, not validation. Her reply is information, not validation. Her reply is information, not validation. And let that become the rule you live by. The rule that keeps your head clear when the phone is quiet and your confidence solid when it lights up. And as you practice this, day after day, you will feel the rise of an iron mind again. You will taste another Stoicism win. You will see how Old Stoic wisdom fits perfectly into modern life, teaching you to master your reactions while the world rushes around you. And from that place, you do not just improve your dating life. You master life itself. You move with purpose. You speak with calm. You act with intention. And you carry the quiet victory of a man who knows that true control is not over others. It is over himself. And that is the kind of power that never fades. And if this hit home, drop a comment right now. My peace is in my hands. Let the world know you don't hand your emotions to silence or screens. You lead yourself. Like this video. Subscribe for more sharp, unshakable guidance. And remind yourself every day, her reply is information, not validation. Take control. Take the lead. Start now. Number 4 is simple and powerful. Let absence do the work, because most men think they lose a woman by pulling back, when the real loss usually comes from never pulling back at all. From being always on, always texting, always checking in, always ready like an open door that never closes. And that is the problem, because when you are everywhere, all the time, she never gets the chance to truly feel your presence. And if she cannot feel your presence, she will never feel your absence. And without absence, there is no contrast. And without contrast, there is no value. That is how the human mind works. That is not mystery. That is psychology tricks at play, the same kind that show up in female psychology and in How to Fall in Love. So think about your favorite meal, the one you crave, the one that makes you smile before the first bite. Now imagine eating it every single day, breakfast, lunch, dinner. At first it feels amazing. Then something shifts, not because the food changed, but because the frequency did. The spark fades. The taste dulls. The magic softens. Too much presence kills appreciation. And the same rule applies to attention, effort, and emotional availability. So don't confuse constant access with real connection. Be clear about this. When you flood the space, you drain the mystery. And when mystery is gone, desire struggles to breathe. Now picture a man who sends good morning texts, midday updates, late night check-ins, who explains every move and reassures every silence. He believes he is building closeness. He thinks he is nurturing something real. But what he is really doing is filling every inch of space so she never has room to step forward. No room to wonder. No room to reach back. No room to feel anything except a quiet sense of being full. And full people don't hunger. That is the truth. She does not have time to miss him. She does not have space to crave him. He arrives before she ever notices he was gone. And absence works because it creates clarity. It clears the fog. It shows what is real. So when you stop over-delivering, her true level of interest rises to the surface. And this is where you must be honest with yourself. If she values you, she will move toward you. She will check in. She will initiate. She will step into the space you opened. But if she does not, the silence grows, not because you caused it, but because you finally stopped covering it. That is not a loss. That is information. And information is power. So don't use absence to play games. Don't use it to provoke or to test. Be better than that. Use it to free yourself, because you're not threatening anyone with withdrawal. You are simply returning to a healthy baseline where your energy is not poured into someone who is not pouring anything back. You must stop auditioning for attention and start paying attention to effort. That is the shift. That is where self-respect lives. And here is the part most men never expect. When you stop flooding her with attention, she starts to feel the change inside herself. She notices the missing message. She wonders why you are not as available. She feels the gap, not because you punished her, but because you stopped cushioning the imbalance. And that gap invites reflection. It invites curiosity. It invites her to ask, what changed? And sometimes, that question is all it takes to wake real interest. Absence does not push the right woman away. It reveals her. It shows you whether she wants to meet you in the middle or whether she was simply comfortable with you doing all the work. That is not cruelty. That is clarity. And clarity saves time, saves energy, saves heart. So don't be the man who believes love is built by endless giving while receiving nothing. Be the man who understands balance, because that is how to fall in love in a way that lasts. That is how to fall in love without losing yourself. And yes, this taps into psychology tricks, into female psychology, not as manipulation, but as understanding how humans respond to space, contrast, and value. You must remember this line. She cannot miss what never leaves. Read it again. She cannot miss what never leaves. So give her something to miss. Not by disappearing, not by being cold, but by having a life, by having purpose, by choosing when to give your time instead of spilling it everywhere. Don't chase with noise. Attract with presence. Don't crowd the moment. Create room for it. Be steady. Be calm. Be clear. That is strength without force. That is confidence without shouting. And in that quiet space, in that pause you allow, the right woman will feel you more than she ever did when you were always there. And if she steps forward, you'll know it's real. And if she doesn't, you'll know you're free. And either way, you win. Number 5, test her interest. There's a special kind of confusion that traps a lot of men, the kind that keeps you stuck between hope and doubt, when she never initiates, but she always responds. Not with excitement, not with real effort, but just enough to keep you guessing, just enough to keep you thinking maybe there's something there. And because she never fully disappears, you tell yourself the story you want to hear. So you keep carrying the momentum, you keep being the one who reaches out first, who keeps the conversation alive, who makes the plans, who fills the silence. And all the while, you're left wondering whether she's interested or just entertained, and that is where clarity becomes essential. Because when someone gives mixed signals, the worst thing you can do is keep filling the gaps for them. Don't do that. Be still. Because as long as you compensate for her low effort, you will never see her real level of investment. She doesn't need to show it. She doesn't need to try. You've made the connection too easy to coast on, and that is not connection, that is convenience. Picture this man who sends the same good morning text every single day, like clockwork, like it's part of her routine. Some days she answers. Some days she doesn't. Some days she replies hours later with a short, emotionless message. And yet he keeps doing it day after day because he's afraid that if he stops, she'll drift away. And what he doesn't realize is this simple truth. If something fades the moment you stop carrying it, it was never real to begin with. Let that line sink in, because that is not harsh, that is honest, and honesty is what sets you free. Testing her interest doesn't mean playing games or trying to twist the situation. Don't do that. Be better. It means creating a clean opportunity for her to show up. It means removing yourself just enough so you can finally see what happens when you are not doing all the work. So stop being the first to text. Stop being the one who always follows up. Stop being the only person pouring energy into the connection. Step back. Not dramatically, not with attitude, but with intention. That is the key. Intention. Then observe. Don't react. Just watch. Does she close the distance? Does she notice the shift? Does she reach out, check on you, ask to see you? Or does she let the silence sit there comfortably like it doesn't cost her anything at all? Because her response to space will tell you more than 1,000 polite replies ever could. The beauty of this approach is that it exposes the truth without a single confrontation. No speeches. No pressure. No emotional talks that go nowhere. Her actions will answer the question you keep avoiding. If she cares, she'll show it. If she doesn't, she'll stay quiet. And that silence is your clarity, not your failure. You're not losing her. You're losing the illusion that she's invested. And that is a win, even if it doesn't feel like it at first. If the connection only exists when you carry it, you're not in a relationship, you're in a routine. And routines don't build bonds. Effort does. Balance does. Mutual curiosity does. Let her actions reveal what her words never will, because words are easy. Effort is not. You must understand this if you want to become a high-value man, not in the sense of status or image, but in the sense of self-respect. A man who doesn't beg for interest, who doesn't chase mixed signals, who doesn't build dreams on silence. That is a high-value man. And women feel that not because you announce it, but because you live it. Be calm, be grounded. That is masculine energy, not noise, not pressure, but quiet certainty, the kind that says, I know what I bring and I won't carry what won't carry me back. When you step back, you're not trying to scare her into action. Don't think that way. You're simply giving reality a chance to breathe, and reality always tells the truth. This is how you attract women who are actually interested, not just passing time. Because when you stop overinvesting, you stop teaching people that your time is cheap, and you start showing that your presence is earned. Don't confuse effort with pressure. Be steady instead. That steadiness is masculine energy in action, and it changes how you show up in every part of your life. Remember, a high value man doesn't chase attention. He notices it. And when it's not there, he doesn't argue with the silence. He listens to it. So test her interest, not to control the outcome, but to see it clearly, because clarity saves you months, sometimes years of wondering. You must be willing to face the answer, whatever it is, because the right woman won't be confused by your space. She'll step into it. And the wrong situation will fade when you stop carrying it, just like the quote says. And when that happens, don't take it as a loss. Take it as direction. Be the man who chooses direction over doubt. Be the man who learns how to attract women by being aligned, not by being available on demand. That is how you grow. That is how you protect your energy. That is how you move closer to the life and the connection that actually meets you halfway. If you made it this far, you already know the truth. Clarity beats confusion every time. Don't keep carrying what won't carry you back. Step back with intention. Let her actions speak. And choose respect over guessing. If you're ready to stop filling the gaps and start seeing what's real, comment this below to lock it in. I choose clarity. I stop carrying what won't carry me back. Number 6, raise your standards. Raise your standards, because this is the moment where your life turns. And I'm telling you straight, when she never texts first, never calls first, never shows real initiative, the problem is not her silence, it's the level of treatment you've decided to accept. And as Old Stoic wisdom reminds us, you have power over your mind, not outside events, Marcus Aurelius said. So take that power back now and build an iron mind. Because staying attached to someone who gives little is not love, it's fear. Fear of being alone, fear of starting over, fear that this is the best you can get. And fear is a terrible advisor. It teaches you to accept crumbs and call them connection. But hear this clearly, crumbs are not a meal. And hope without action is just delay. So stop protecting your hope and start protecting your self-respect, because a man without standards becomes a man without options. And that is not a theory, that is reality. You see it every day in modern life, where messages travel in seconds and attention is everywhere, yet effort still tells the truth. And Seneca said it best, he who is brave is free, free from chasing silence, free from waiting by the phone, free from shrinking his world to fit someone else's indifference. So be brave now. Be free now. Choose standards now. Because every time you tolerate neglect, you train your mind to believe that this is all you deserve. And your world gets smaller, your confidence gets quieter, your energy gets drained, until her bare minimum feels like a privilege. And that is how good men lose themselves without even noticing. So draw the line today, not with anger, not with speeches, but with calm action. Because raising your standards is not about being harsh, it's about being honest. Honest that a real connection meets you halfway. Honest that if you are the only one planning, initiating, and caring, then you are carrying something that should be shared. Honest that peace matters more than fantasy. And peace is power in a world that never slows down. And when you choose peace, you start building that iron mind again, the kind that doesn't panic when the phone is quiet, the kind that understands that silence is information, not a threat. And here is the instruction. Match her energy, not to punish, but to see clearly. Because absence creates clarity, and clarity gives you strength. And Epictetus taught us, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. So decide to be a man with standards, then live like one. No drama, no chasing, no over-explaining, just steady, grounded action. Because the right woman does not need to be convinced to care. She shows it naturally, consistently, willingly. She doesn't make you guess. She doesn't leave you hanging. She brings reciprocity because she sees your value without being pushed. And that is what you make space for when you stop holding on to what gives you nothing back. And understand this deeply. Your worth is not measured by how long you can hold on to someone. It's measured by how ready you are to walk away when respect is missing. Because walking away is not losing, it is choosing yourself. And when you choose yourself, you step into Stoicism win, the quiet victory of mastering your reactions, your expectations, your choices. And in modern life, that mastery shows up everywhere. In your work where you stop chasing approval and start delivering excellence. In your health where you train with discipline instead of excuses. In your friendships where you choose people who show up. And in your love life where you no longer audition for attention. And Theodore Roosevelt said, "In any moment of decision, the best thing you can do is the right thing, so make the right decision now. Raise your standards." Because standards are not walls, they are filters. They decide who gets access to your time, your energy, your presence. And when you raise them, something powerful happens. The wrong women fall away, and that is not a loss. That is relief. That is space. That is freedom. And the right ones step forward with ease, not because you chased, but because you stood firm. And this is where Old Stoic wisdom becomes real-life practice, where Stoicism win is no longer a concept, but a way you live, day after day, choice after choice. And here is the shift that changes everything. Her silence no longer shakes you, it informs you. It tells you exactly where she stands so you can decide where you stand. You stop trying to fix what isn't broken. You stop forcing what was never mutual. You stop clinging to potential and start choosing reality. And reality is where strong men are built, because reality doesn't lie. And when you live in reality, you don't beg for space, you don't wait for crumbs, you don't tie your identity to someone who barely shows up. You show up for yourself first. And that self-respect changes how you walk, how you speak, how you decide, and how others respond to you. Because value is not something you chase, it is something you embody. And embodying it requires an iron mind, trained to stay calm when emotions rise, trained to stay steady when uncertainty appears, trained to choose long-term respect over short-term comfort. And yes, it takes discipline. But discipline is the price of freedom. And freedom is what you're really after. Freedom from doubt, freedom from waiting, freedom from shrinking your life to fit someone else's limits. So remember this instruction and repeat it until it becomes part of you. Raise your standards, protect your peace, match energy, walk away when respect is missing, choose clarity over confusion, choose self-respect over fear. Because the point of all this is not to win her back, it is to win yourself back. And that is the greatest victory any man can achieve, the victory of knowing his worth and living like it every day, in every situation, until one day you realize you no longer chase attention, you attract respect. And that is when you know you have built the iron mind, you have honored Old Stoic wisdom, you are living Stoicism win, and you are finally mastering your life. Hey, my friend, thanks for sticking with me till the end. If what you heard today made you pause even for a second, that's a good thing. That pause is growth. That pause is awareness. And that awareness is the first step toward becoming the man you're meant to be. Remember this. Don't chase attention, build value. Focus on your purpose, respect yourself, and let your actions speak louder than words. When you stay grounded, confident, and intentional, the right people will feel it without you forcing anything. If you want to keep walking this path, hit subscribe so you don't miss the principles that will help you grow stronger in every connection you build. And if you've ever dealt with a woman who never reached out first, share your story in the comments. You're not alone, and your experience might help someone else.